So welcome everybody who's joined so far. We're really pleased to have you with us today because this session is a little bit special. We're very happy to be one of the first to show you the Qlik's long anticipated next generation agentic AI capability and how it's designed to enable smarter, faster decision making. What makes this a real step forward is that Qlik's agentic AI assistant now can deliver instant context-rich insights from unstructured as well as structured data for the first time, meaning previously untapped information from your different data formats can be analyzed together to give you that deeper contextual insight alongside the structured data. So this session will run for approximately 40 minutes. Bit of housekeeping, we will be recording this session, so do drop off if you do not wish to be recorded. All the participants will be muted and to ensure a nice smooth experience, but do please submit any questions for a Q&A session at the end. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions and as and when they come up. Here's what we'll cover today. So we'll cover this new Qlik Answers, which enables this trusted contextual response from structured and unstructured data. The Qlik's new agentic AI capability to automate insights, discovery, and decision making, and how this enables organizations to move questions to get faster actions. I may be assisted by Scott, who's going to give us a live demonstration of both of these capabilities. So I've got a slight problem. So let me introduce myself. So I'm Roger Gray. I'm the Business Intelligence Manager here at the Climate in the UK. I sort of mainly focus on Qlik Cloud, helping organizations modernize their data analytics, and now I'm progressing much more into the world of AI. So Scott, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Roger. So hello, everybody. Great to see so many people on this session as well. So just to introduce myself, so my name is Scott Wilkinson, as Roger's mentioned. I'm a solution architect and part of the pre-sales team at Qlik. Now I've been with Qlik for about just short of 14 years now. Worked on a lot of different things within Qlik, seen a lot of evolution of the product. Very pleased to be able to show you the latest elements that we've brought to the product, which is the agentic AI element. Just as a little insight, I've been involved in some of the early access to this product, and have been tasked with being one of the regional champions for that as well. So hopefully if there is any questions, I should be able to address those and answer those questions as well. And look forward to sharing a little bit with you. Back to you, Roger.
Cheers, Scott. Just a very quick one for those that are not familiar with Climate. We're a Qlik Elite partner, have been for a number of years now. We're actually founded in Sweden in 2007. In fact, we've got offices in the Netherlands, Finland, UK, and Sweden, and we have over 100 consultants. So it's quite a large organization across the Scandinavian and the Northern European countries. We support 400 plus customers across a whole range of different industries. We don't specialize in one particular area. We generalize across a number of different industries. We actually have a very good expert services organization that provides that real-time urgent call-out type requests for any technical support you may have around both Qlik Cloud and on-premise capabilities. Alongside that, we actually provide a lot of customer training. So we have the Climate Academy, which provides a whole range of courses from free get you going with Qlik Sense through to full training up to certification level. The next segment is a bit odd, 700. It's 700 years worth of experience across the organization, across all those different developers. We have a mixture of actually a lot of new blood coming to the business fairly frequently, but also a lot of people that have been around for a wee while looking after Qlik products, such as myself. So there's a breadth of capability. And typically we produce something like about 500 different Qlik applications every year. So that ranges from being some straightforward dashboards through to complete data warehouse type solutions. So there's a wide range of different capabilities. So that's Climate in a nutshell. But really what you come here to see is the new Qlik Answers. So I'm going to hand you back to Scott, who's going to do all the hard work for me and take you through what this new Qlik Answers and the MCP capability is.
Yeah, can I just get a quick check, Roger, that you can see my screen, please?
I can.
All right, cool. Thank you. So welcome, everybody. So I'm going to run you through a little bit about Qlik Answers. And what I want to do is just give you a little bit of kind of a flavor of what drove us to actually do this, really. And ultimately, it was yourselves, it's the marketplace. And what we saw was a real desire out there to be able to combine a lot of the emerging technology that's out there at the moment as well. So we've all become very adept at managing structured data. We've actually become a lot better in the past 2 or 3 years at managing unstructured data as well. So the structured data classically managed through using analytics tools, and there's a long history of doing that. The unstructured data is a little bit more emergent, so the use of things like large language models and GPT applications, so OpenAI, ChatGPT, the obvious ones of those. But the industry's really kind of driven that forward with a lot more in recent times, and applying this technology much more prevalently within the business to try and help people improve productivity. But the big piece that's also come with large language models is this new piece of not just being able to comprehend and understand large language, but to also do reasoning as well. So if you look at this, really the, if you will, the piece that people have been searching for is that taken in isolation, each of these still represents a silo. So you've got structured data, you've got unstructured data, for example, in SharePoint or various documents or knowledge systems, and then you've got AI technologies. And it kind of, the ideal would be to bring all of those together. So that's really what's been driving our product focus, our development cycle, and where we want to be able to bring solutions to yourselves as the customers as well. And just a little background to this, this is not new to Qlik. Okay, so we have been championing this for 7 years now. In fact, I actually think first time I saw Insight Advisor was late 2018, if I remember correctly. But we delivered Insight Advisor as a natural language interface into analytics. And actually, the first few years, it was a little bit like trying to push water up a hill. People say, well, why do you want me to ask questions of it? Why do I want to have a conversation with it? And then ChatGPT happened about 2.5 to 3 years ago. And everybody said, well, why can't I do all this? So Qlik responded to this by making an acquisition of an organization called Kindy, which gave us Qlik Answers. They were very much specialists in what's called RAG technology, so retrieval augmented generation technology. What that means is it uses the power of large language models to actually be able to answer a question on unstructured data. So it's that finding the needle in a haystack that we actually deliver with Qlik Answers. But that's very much the unstructured side of the house. And so what we launched as of yesterday became available on Qlik Cloud Analytics tenants yesterday in the EU region, and also several other regions. If you are running in the UK region on the Qlik Cloud Analytics platform, that will be, we're still waiting on some deliverables from AWS to actually allow us to launch that in the London region. But what you will also find if you are on a professional analyzer model, that will be enabled and switched on in February the 24th, so 2 weeks gone yesterday. So we'll switch those on for anybody who's got a user-based tenant. You'll see that, and you will get an allocation of Qlik Answers for you to be able to use in that as well. However, let's get on to a little bit of the detail on this, and I'm going to talk about this. This is probably about as technical as I'll get. Okay, it's a architecture diagram just to explain some of the components that are here. So what you'll see is there is an in-product assistant. That's just us putting Qlik Answers on top of effectively our help agent, or our help manuals, if you will. The important one is this embeddable assistant, and I do choose those words very carefully as well, embeddable assistant. So you'll see it today very much in the context of using it inside of Qlik. You'll see it used effectively just within an application. I'll also show you how you can leverage it in just assistants that you could embed, and you could embed them wherever you want to. You could put those on portals, you could put that on internal sites. You can really use it and leverage that. And what we'll do for the second half of this, we'll talk about the other emergent part of this, the release as well, in terms of us opening this up to other agents to actually be able to use this as well. And I'll show an example of that, and I'll talk to the concept behind that as well. You probably hear a lot about MCP. I'm also going to give my view on MCP, which I think is a great enabling technology, but in itself is just a technology, but we'll come on to that in a little while. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this. I'm going to show basically two different demo segments of this, just to give you a flavor of how you can use this. And my purpose on this is not to necessarily talk about the hows, the whys, the what fors. We can do that on a later session. But what I am going to do is I'm going to look at what's valuable on this and some of the kind of use cases that you can actually use this technology for. Very simple demonstration, but hopefully it kind of whets your appetite on what you can actually do with this. Now, the first piece I'll do is I'll just use Qlik Answers inside of the Qlik environment, and I'll use it in two different ways. I'll use it on top of a very basic application. And what I'll do is just use natural language to basically find you an insight, find some answers on there, find some detail on that. Then what I'll do is I'll flip and I'll actually show Qlik Answers leveraging both structured and unstructured data as well. Now that becomes important because what you can actually do is you can actually start to combine what you have in things like analyst reports or things like market intelligence reports that you might have, or commentary that people have actually put together. And you can start to combine that with some of the truth, the facts, if you will, about what's happening within your data also as well. So I think that's quite an interesting eye-opener. And then what I'll do is I'll flip it. And what I'll do is I will look to show the same kind of approach and technology, but from a completely different entry point. And so what I'll do is I'll use an external AI desktop. And what I'll do is I'll access to that. I'll access the data. Now, why would I show this? Well, this is just to show that what you can actually leverage out of this is to go beyond the simple idea of having AI just generate some SQL. Now, the reason I'm saying that is that you then, if you leverage information that's trusted, intellectual property that you've built in terms of how you define measures and how you describe measures to your business, you get all sorts of benefits from that. You get a consistency with that. You don't get AI kind of filling the gap and starting to write some SQL for you, which might or might not be correct. You don't get AI starting to interpret that as much. But there's still an element of, sort of in terms of what I'm trying to say with this is we go beyond what you can perceive as value now and do something a little bit more trustworthy, a little bit more engaging, and a little bit more consistent with how you operate your business as well. Okay, so let's get into it. So in terms of what I want to do with this is show the quick time to actually show value that you can actually get to. And again, I mentioned there's two assistants here. There's the in-product assistant. That is really just a productivity aid on top of the help, files, website, structure, however you want to call it. But what I'm really interested in is this embeddable agent. And just looking at where you can easily add this to just add value to content creation, to insight finding, and to basically getting to the answer that you need to much, much quicker. So let me just go across to here. And what I'm also going to do is just, because my typing is awful, and if anybody's ever been on a call with me before, you will know that my typing is somewhat substandard. So I've got the prompts I'm going to use just pre-written as well. So I'm just on, this is actually, I've got two choices here. This is the early access tenant I've been using, so I'm going to continue to use this. I've got a really simple demo app that I have published here. So the really simple demo app just is on the base of consumer product goods information. And there's very little content in there. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to delete that sheet just to show you there is absolutely no content in this application at the moment. What I'm going to do is just open up Qlik Answers. And I'm actually going to give it as much real estate as I can on there. So I've got Qlik Answers within inside the application here. Now, what I might want to do is just ask this a question, a very basic one. So I know I've got some retail CPG data. It's not a huge amount of data that I've got available to me here. It is probably in total 4,000 rows if I'm lucky. But what I want to do is just show you can start to get some value out of that. So I'm just going to type in a question, and what I'm going to say, what is the sales trend on a yearly basis in the UK? And can you analyze this by product for me? Okay. I just want to see that information. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk you through this. Now, a couple of bits of feedback we've had when I've been doing this as early adopters and presenting and showing this is what we do get here is we get a series of agents that actually it breaks down the task and then works out how best to answer this. Now, it's using reasoning from the large language model to understand what's going on. And you can see the commentary here kind of describes what it's doing. So it tells me it's going to understand the question. It's then going to select the appropriate agent. It's already started to think about this concept here about where it's going to send it. It's likely to be the data analyst agent because it's structured data. It'll then decompose that question. It'll then go on to a semantic search, and what it'll start doing is it'll look within the application. It'll try and match the terms that are in the application. Now, I have defined a few master items and master measures in here, master dimensions and master measures in here. There's also a series of fields. As a kind of guidance piece, it will prefer master items on there because there's more kind of validity in using those elements on there as well. And the importance comes when you start to describe the master items in terms of the description and some of the other metadata that you provide about this. It just gives the LLM more context as well. You can see it's gone on to the data analyst, so it's now started to come up with a plan of what it's going to do. It's going to build these elements. It's also looked at the countries, and it's determined that it's going to filter by the country UK because that's right. If it was in there and I'd asked for UK, it would interpret it and do it as United Kingdom or Great Britain if it found those measures in those items in there as well. So it's confident it's got what it needs. It's now rolling through and it's starting to build some charts for this. And it's also starting to generate some commentary that's actually associated here as well. And so it's got information about the top performing sellers. And finally, what it does, it hands back to the answers agent. And what I'll get in a second is I will get the analysis that I actually require from this. So you can see based on the data here, there's some key insights that's presented back to me. So it's given me a sales trend by year. It's also started to give me some commentary. It's saying that the UK has a significant volatility over the year. You can see it started growing in 2024. Then we had a decline in 2025. And we're at currently just about $11,000 year to date. You can see the top selling products. You can see the top selling products there. What it also does as well is you'll see these little numbers. Now, if I just go and view source on there, what it actually does is it gives me, I can look at the reasoning for this. So it's gone through and there's the reasoning applied, which you saw it being generated. So I can understand that. I've got traceability and auditability about how it's arrived at this answer. I've also got the charts, and then starts to break down the charts and tell me what items it's used. I can also view the full expressions that it's generated as a result of this for me as well. So I mentioned I did have some master items, so it's used revenue, but it's actually written a set analysis as well to filter on the UK for me. So you can go through and inspect all of these here. And as you can see, it's all structured context that it's actually come back with on there. A couple of other call outs, if I just scroll down to the bottom of this as well. It's also started thinking about what I might want to do as a next step as well. So it suggested a couple of different prompts that I might want to explore this further on, based on a couple of things, based on what it understood in the intent of my original question, what it's seen in terms of patterns and relative insights inside of the data. And so it starts to suggest these things to me. Additionally, what I could do, I've got a couple of different ways I could go. I could say, great, can you create me a dashboard on this? But as we've got quite a lot to get in today, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take those 3 charts that were just there, and I'm just going to add them to the new sheet there. And what you'll see is it'll just put those into the charts for me, and I can work with them there. Now, what I would say about the content that actually generates as part of answers on there is that I would say it kind of conforms to the 80-20 rule. It's kind of 80% of the way there, but a lot of the usability and how you want it is the last 20%. So what you can do is start to take these, start to tweak them, start to edit them, start to make them look like you want, arrange them how you want to, potentially ask another question to generate some content and add those as well. So it gives you opportunities in there. I'm guessing how I would describe this is I think it's a productivity aid, and I think it also kind of increases our percentage chances of being adopted within a business as well, because what it does do, it allows people to start exploring, to do that self-service journey and to really get some insights in there. You also see as well at the bottom here, I can help feedback to Qlik Answers by saying, yes, I like that answer. So I'll just give it a thumbs up because I'm happy with that. And I get the feedback going through from there as well. Now, that's the first kind of use case for this. I think what I mean to call out was when you look at answers, it kind of looks like Google, right? And I know I'm going to show my age with that. A lot of people, use ChatGPT, OpenAI, all the rest of it for those kind of questions. But purposely, it just presents you with a letterbox and says, go on, ask me something. And if you think about how business users work, and the reason I called out adoption is that quite often people won't adopt things because they're a little bit uncomfortable in using dashboards. Might be too much information for them. They might not remember where it was. They might not remember how to apply the selections. But I would give you some really short odds that people can actually form a business question because everybody knows their business and understands their business. So I think this is where it becomes an opportunity for us to really kind of drive more value into ultimately your customers as people who deploy these kinds of solutions and use these kinds of solutions to as many people as possible. I'll go on quickly because I want to get to the second use case. Now, the second use case, I'm going to just drop down on there as well. So this is the Qlik Answers focusing just on the demo app that I've got here. You can also see I talked about the help agent as well. So the help agent is there. I can also use more broad, kind of wider general purpose answers assistance. So I'm going to tap into a fashion retail assistant. Now, what I've done with this is I've given it access to exactly the same demonstration app. I've also given it access to a knowledge base, which I used, actually used Claude as an external LLM to generate some reports for me, one about a 25-page report, one about a 7-page report, just on how the business was performing, what was happening, what are some of the things I needed to call out for. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to ask it a second question. And what I'm going to do is say, well, I've got the information I need on the UK. Now I want just to look a little bit broader. And what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to select the fashion retail assistant and see there it is there. I've actually put in a couple of prompter questions. I'm going to use a variation on one of those. And I want to just show you a different flow that does. So the question is, I seem to remember the analyst calling out a dependency on one product. Can you confirm this? And can you analyze this against the actual sales performance? So was I right to remember this from the analyst report? And do actually our figures bear out what we're thinking of there? And if I just set this away now, what you'll actually see with this is Qlik Answers will do something slightly different from what it did before. Now this time it's got both structured and unstructured data to it, but it's started to understand the intent as well. So you can see find the analyst mentions of a product dependency, and it's also saying analyze these performance as well. So it's starting to think about how it answers the question and come up with a plan. So it's done that. And the first thing it does is not go to the structured application. It's actually going to the knowledge base agent. Now, this is the unstructured information. This is the analyst reports that I've put in there. Again, this is fairly simple data. So even this generates a reasonably rich kind of piece of content for me as well. So it'll take a look at this. What it'll do is the answers agent comes back and actually, where was it? There we go. Yes, sorry, it was the knowledge base agent that's come back. And what it said is, yes, there's a warning on a product called Minky Palasi. Again, if anybody's ever seen me do a consumer products demo, they'll see me use this data set, and it represents more than 25% of our revenue, which brings in itself some risk on being kind of single-threaded as a business potentially on there as well. It's now going to the semantic agent. Again, it's going to go through, it's going to find what it needs to actually answer the query on there. So just hide that. And then what it's doing, it's going to pass that out now. And it's built in its own analysis plan as well. So this is all the stuff that it's doing. Now, one of the things that I would kind of call out on this, just while this is working as well, you can actually see all the detail that's coming up with on there as well. And it's generating some new measures for me as well. But what I would call out about this is one of the pieces of feedback I've had is, oh, this takes a long time to run. Is it not just instant like that, snap? Now, when I initially responded to this, somebody said, yeah, I get much faster answers out of something else. It put me in mind of a book I read when I was on holiday, probably about 6 or 7 years ago now. I read a book which I recommend anybody to go and read by a guy called Daniel Kahneman. And Daniel Kahneman wrote a book called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow. And he talks about how the human mind works. And what he said was that the way we work is quite often a lot of answers or a lot of things that we get to we'll do with quick thought patterns because we need to, because that's how we need to work. We need to come up with quick answers. However, the quality of those answers are somewhat questionable because we use bias, we use previous experience, we use inferred knowledge. We don't actually think about the full context of the question. So his argument was that you need to be really effective by being able to recognize when you need to think slowly. And I think these cases here are where you kind of really need to think slowly, in my opinion. The reason being is that what you want is you want the right answer from this. You don't want a quick wrong answer. That's not a great amount of use to you. Okay, so what you can actually see from this is that it's come back with quite a kind of reasoned piece of output on here. It says, yes, I can confirm there is a product dependency. It then goes on to tell me what it is. It then goes on to back this up, and you can see there's all the citations that are actually in there as well. I'm going to go to citations in a second. But you can see how it's kind of thought about this. It's generated 4 charts for this. And if I want to view the source, you'll see the answer breakdown actually starts in my fashion retail and starts with the geo product analysis document that I generated yesterday. And then it goes on to combine that with structured information to support the arguments for that. Or if it doesn't match, it'll actually refute the arguments. It'll say, I found this in the analyst report, but this is my analysis of the picture of your actual support on there as well. So I think, again, just talking about why this, you might feel that this is slow. It can take a little bit of time. But I also say, if you were asking this question before you pick up the phone and ask somebody to go and look at it, you might expect to get an answer in a couple of days or a week. It's done this for us in the scope of about 2.5 minutes. So we are looking at making this faster. However, it does deliver significant value on there as well, I think. So I'll just jump back to the slide deck on there. So a couple of things you've seen in that kind of exposure of Qlik Answers there is that we do have this agentic architecture. You saw Qlik Answers would take it as the kind of, if you will, the supervising agent that's taking the question, and then it would coordinate and come up with a plan. And it would leverage several different agents. So you saw it use the knowledge agent, you saw it use the analytics agent. It used a couple of other agents as well. So the chart generation agent, and also I think, I forget what the other one was. There was one other one it used as well. I can't remember the exact term of it. But you saw it's actually using all of these agents in a coordinated manner to a plan to actually deliver some insights for you as well. So you've seen that inside of Qlik. As I said, we can embed that externally as well. Just want to go on because I'm conscious of the counting down clock and how long I talk for. Just want to talk about how we can add value to external agents as well. Now, what this does is through something called MCP, right? So Multiple Context Protocol. It enables us in external platforms to start asking questions of Qlik data. So this MCP, and we recently had a kickoff event, and I think I heard the word MCP more than I heard the word coffee, tea, or beer, right? It was mentioned every other sentence, MCP, MCP, MCP. How I would like an MCP is kind of like your Wi-Fi at home, right? And if you think about your Wi-Fi at home, is loads of devices conform to this standard of Wi-Fi, right? The obvious ones, your phone, your laptop, any tablet device that you've got, they're all obvious ones, right? But if you think about your house now, in my house, we can have my smartwatches on the Wi-Fi. I also have other things that we can put on there. I've got a Hive heating system, right? I can actually dial onto my phone and look at the temperature of my house and decide to put the heat on remotely, right? It's all on the Wi-Fi. The Wi-Fi enables all of these things to talk together, and that's really what MCP does, right? And so MCP is valueless in itself, but as an enabler, it's phenomenal, right? It opens up a whole host of things. And if I just jump into this, I've signed into the Claude platform, and what I'm going to do is, so this is me plugged into Claude. I've logged in and just checked I was connected to the right platform, but because I'm paranoid, I'm going to ask a question, and I'm going to ask it just to make sure it's all working properly. Now, all of these AI tools have their own reason and have their own ability to kind of actually break things down and understand them. Now, you'll notice I've actually got this as a CPG application, but I asked the question, is it in the CPD space, not continual professional development, as some people might interpret it. But actually, the AI agent was clever enough to know that I can't type for toffee. And even I saw this deliberate mistake, and I thought I'd leave it in because it underscores a great point that it's actually starting to kind of adapt to that. It's saying, well, actually, I noticed there's a one that's very close to what you actually asked me. So is this the one you really want? Which is great, because that is exactly what I want. And what I'm going to do is just set it away asking a question. And the question I'm going to ask is about sales trends. And I'm just going to say, can you look at the sales trends in that application and provide me analysis by country and product, right? Now, if I just explain what it's doing is, it is connecting to Qlik through what's called MCP. But what it's actually doing is, you'll see, it actually makes requests to Qlik. So there's the request, and there's the result come back. So the result is, it's described the app. So it gives me all the information about the app. So all of this is going on. So it's feeding the AI platform this information. So great. I can see the app has country, product, sales, category, and revenue measures in there. I can do something with this, is what it says. And so then it sets about creating a whole series of data objects on there as well. You can see it's just kind of working through that in the background, yeah? And then what it does do, it starts to then look at trend information. So it's now got comprehensive analysis, and it's saying, great, let me start to give you some output for this. So this is MCP working with a Qlik platform, leveraging the application that I've guided it to. Now, you can ask a very open question. It'll actually search across the applications, find the right application, and then start to answer the question for you. But you can see it's given me quite a significant amount of commentary. Now, the one last thing I want to do with this, we heard earlier that, you know, sort of I might be over reliant on a product. Can I ask a similar question here? So if I just paste that in, what I can do is, you know, it starts to say, right, let's have a look at this. Let me break down the risk. And it's actually used a lot of the information that it already had from there to start to give me, you know, some analysis. And what it's starting to give me guidance on what it knows to be right. It's telling me to invest in growth patterns there. And then it is, as a platform, suggesting other things to me as well. Would you like to analyze the products that have the most growth potential? I'd say, if I just say the basic thing, yes, please. It's asked me a question, I'm saying yes, please. So it should hopefully hold the I haven't tried this before, by the way, but hopefully this will hold the context, and it'll actually go off and it'll do some further analysis on this as well. So why do I call this out as being important? Okay. So I've used Claude, but the MCP standard, as I say, I kind of likened it a little bit to Wi-Fi. It allows you to put lots of different devices in there. Now, how well this works actually depends on the device, not on necessarily Qlik or MCP. What we do as part of the MCP standard is, so I'll just show you the analysis that's come back on there as well. There's all sorts of things like hidden gems. It's still at it there, just talking about geographical expansion. But if I just come back to this in terms of why is this important, we're not saying as Qlik go out and buy Claude. What we're saying is, if you've got an AI agent that is compliant to the MCP standard, you could potentially use that with MCP. What Qlik does is Qlik publishes a series of endpoints. We describe those in a very friendly way to MCP, so that agents can come on, understand what tools are available for them to use and how they should use them, and then use that in their own LLM. So it becomes a really powerful way of us actually kind of expanding what we do. And you see this, I wonder if this is finished now. Or is it still going? There you go, it's finished. So it gives me a summary of impact detection, investment priorities, and various things. And Roger, I know I always steal your time, so I'm just going to kind of step through a couple of last slides for me on this. It leverages the analytics engine, which has been the heartbeat of Qlik for years. The agentic experience is there. The other piece which is going to come out, I believe, on the target for the 24th of February, is that all analytics customers will get access to the data product side of things in Qlik on the cloud. So anybody with a cloud tenant, so that's both cloud analytics and user-based subscriptions, will get access to trusted data products, which allows you to build data products. It allows you to run the data quality and data scoring metrics on there as well. It allows you to describe and publish those for use in all sorts of things. So Qlik applications, machine learning experiments on Qlik, data flows, table recipes, and script elements as well. So you can actually start to publish those. I think that becomes a really valuable piece of being able to understand the data available to you through documentation, and also start to trust it through the scoring metrics. The one last thing I'll leave you with before I hand back to Roger is just that, should I use Qlik Answers or MCP? It depends on your use case. What I would say is, I think Qlik Answers gives you a really powerful tool to look at both structured and unstructured data in a very plug and play way, right? It is a very just ready built, no coding, very low risk. Go. basically easy button for AI. If you do have commitments to use other AI type tools, so things like Microsoft Copilot, things like Claude, there's other examples of it as well that are out there. Gemini AI will be another one. Yeah, if it conforms to MCP, you can plug it in. I think with some of the things like Gemini and Copilot, you might need a little bit of work on configuring the agent to do that, but there is the opportunity to use that. As I said, look carefully at how closely your chosen, if you will, agent platform is aligned to MCP. But Roger, if I stop there just so you do get some time, I'll pass back to you if that's okay.
That's fabulous. Thanks, Scott. There's a lot to get through in a very short period of time. Let me just put the screen up. So Q&A, actually, whilst you've been talking, Scott, there's been some really good questions coming in. So very, very quickly. This one is more around that sort of MCP layer where you've got this external LLM type capability. Trying to question, you may have Qlik Answers enabled across a number of apps. Is there a way of querying the data across all those apps, or do you need to select one of those apps to ask questions of it?
So so let me answer that in two ways. So in Qlik Answers, it is a single app at the moment that you connect to there. You can have multiple knowledge bases, but it's a single app. When you ask the question in MCP, it will just look at all the apps that are available to you. Now, the other kind of question on that I'll kind of throw in, which wasn't part of the question, but is a really good point to make, is that context and security is still maintained on this. What it means is that when you log into that agent, you will sign into some form of single sign-on, have an identity, and that identity should flow through to Qlik. We use that identity in a couple of different ways to scope the applications that are available to you. Also, as well, for those out there, it will also apply section access when you ask that question. So from an MCP agent point of view, it will look across all of your applications that are available to you, and then give you an answer based on those different applications. Inside of Qlik Answers, it is multiple knowledge bases, but just one application against a particular agent at the moment.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Scott. We're probably going to run over a couple of minutes, so hopefully that's okay with everybody, because I think there's some good questions that's come through. So on a similar theme, so again, this external agent querying your Qlik Answers, and there may be multiple apps you've got enabled. Can you sort of get an understanding of what each app can provide from asking it what it has?
Yes, you can, yeah. So I was just about to jump back to the screen. Yeah, I just gave a very canned demo there, but absolutely you can. You can say, what applications do I have that support elements of customer churn? And it'll look through the applications. Now, when it runs that describe application, it will get back the description of the application. It'll also get all of the master items, including master dimensions and master measures. It'll also get a description of all of those as well. So what it will do is it will skim across not only the name of the application, it will run through the description of the application, and it'll also search the various metadata associated with master items in there, which is why I keep banging the drum for master items, because that gives the agent, whether that's Qlik Answers or whether that's, say, for example, Copilot, it gives it context. It gives it the ability to actually understand a little bit more about those applications and the content of that applications. So when it finds that, depending on how strong the answer is, it will phrase it. It'll say, yeah, I found these different applications how look to appear to work with churn. Is there any of them you'd prefer me to work with? Because it may be that it may come back with a recommendation. It may come back with, here's what I found. I'm not 100% sure of them. Can you give me a little bit more guidance on which ones I should use?
And would you say master items are really useful if you have a data model which has multiple countries, a from country and a to country, and be able to differentiate which one it is so you get a meaningful response?
Yeah, absolutely. So so the classic example is customer country, supplier country, two very, very different things. And absolutely, if you describe them, that helps the LLM hugely, really. And it can also start to infer new things about things like flow of products, to and from one location to another as well. So that gives a context, but the master items, and especially now, I think I'm lazy. I'm probably like everybody else. You build a master item, you put a description. You don't bother putting the description. You just go, I know what it is. It's revenue. But you might, if you put some additional commentary in the description field, it just allows the agent, LLM, whatever it is, asking the questions, just that little bit more context to be able to work with it as well. So yeah, I think master items become really important. And I think I did call it out, but the Qlik Answers itself will prefer master items over and above fields because it infers that there's a lot more value in the master items themselves.
And for those customers that are still on-prem, is there any plans to move this capability onto on-premise?
Short answer to that one is not at the moment, no.
Okay.
Yeah, a couple of technical reasons for that. We use a lot of cloud for that.
But certainly you could have a process, a hybrid type arrangement where you could do your bulk, your work on-premise, and then just have your visualizations up in Qlik Cloud. So that, that's that halfway house type scenario.
Yeah, there's a question asked of the manager. Yes, if we're in a hybrid scenario, if we publish applications, can they be consumed by MC? Yes.
And one last question. Can we use this capability in a chatbot type scenario where you could make this available for somebody to fire some questions in through some form of chatbot, and then it goes away into Qlik Answers and help furnish the answer?
Oh, that's a really good question. You might have. That would rely on the APIs. I think what you can do is you can embed so you could embed Qlik Answers. If it's using MCP, then I have seen people code a chatbot, for example, in things like Python notebooks or Jupyter notebooks, sorry, where they've used the OpenAI libraries and OpenAI dialogue with the APIs to do that as well. So you can use it that way in terms of a chatbot. Really, the MCP opens up a kind of wide variety of integration options for us. If you were to say, could I put Qlik Answers as a source for a chatbot? I kind of want to say yes, but I'm not 100% certain because I know we expose the APIs for unstructured for Qlik Answers, but I'd need to just double check if we've done it for the structured and unstructured elements as well. I can come back to you on that one, Roger, and then perhaps you can share with everyone afterwards. You're on mute, by the way, Roger. Sorry, I know we get a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, thanks for that, Scott. Yeah, I think we need to call the Q&A to an end now. So thank you for all those good questions. This is a bit of a closeout. Let me move on to this slide. We've got some training courses coming up. So those that are truly new to Qlik, we offer free training courses for those that have never really experienced Qlik Cloud. So if you have any new users in your organization, then do sign up for those. They are absolutely free, all up in Qlik Cloud. We provide all the information that's needed in the collateral to enable you to get going. And also we have our first AI training session. So this is more focused around Qlik Predict. We've not quite got something that was launched yesterday into our training programs yet, but I'm sure we will be fairly soon. So do sign up for that if you want to make use of Qlik Predict in a much more vigorous way than perhaps you are at the moment. And that is it. So I would say thank you for Scott for doing the hard graft. I've just been the co-chair to tie things together. So thank you, Scott, and thank you for everybody for attending.
Thank you, Roger. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Brilliant. And I will end it now. Thank you. Bye.